JD Vance, I mean, we've spoken about a little bit. Let's just do some of the quick clips of JD Vance. The funniest part about JD Vance here is where he has come from in terms of Donald Trump. And think about the 4 years of Donald Trump.
Right.
The Muslim bans, the retrograde Supreme Court justices, the incredible amount of scandal. Half of his cabinet had to resign out of scandal. The way that he would go after black people, the way that he would go after protesters, bringing out the feds to clear people out of Independence Square. I mean,
Drone war.
and on and on. Here is JD Vance back in 2016 with a Facebook message to one of his buddies. JD Vance, I'm not surprised by Trump's rise, and I think the entire party has only itself to blame. That sounds right to me. We are, whether we like it or not, the party of lower income, lower education white people. And I have been saying for a long time, we need to offer those people something, and hell, maybe even expand our appeal to working class black people in the process, or a demagogue would. We are now at that point. Trump is the fruit of the party's collective neglect. I go back and forth between thinking Trump is a cynical asshole like Nixon, who wouldn't be that bad and might even prove useful, or that he's America's Hitler. How's that for discouraging?
All right. Well, those are two options.
There's two options. Here is JD Vance back when he was a darling of the I guess the liberals who felt like he was really, really explaining why it was the hillbillies' problem.
For being hillbillies. Why don't they just pull themselves up by their bootstraps?
I think that I'm going to vote third party because I can't stomach Trump. I think that he's noxious and is leading the white working class to a very dark place. And ultimately, I just don't share Hillary Clinton's politics.
I'm just. And the question wasn't, what do you mean by dark place? I mean, nobody wanted to ask what that meant as a dark place.
Well, he was selling books by this point. I mean, this was 2016.
100%.
So
but let's examine what that dark place was.
Yes, right.
I mean, that dark place is they go down and they believe that Donald Trump is the real president in 2022. They believe that there's a one world order and a deep state. They believe that there are, weather machines and crisis actors and
Jews are bringing over migrants on the border to replace us, that kind of thing.
100%. What other dark place could he have been talking about? And what evidence is there that those people are not in that dark place? That there was a plandemic, that the vaccine is just some type of plot to put 3G connectors into people's brains. I mean, what other dark place could he have been talking about?
Yeah. I mean, apparently now his narrative is that he believed everything that the media was saying, and now he's awoken up out of his trance. But then you would have to believe that he was just so dumb and uneducated at Yale Law School, and all of these this praise that had been thrust upon him that he was unable to discern. So the reality, though, is it seems like they don't even care. Like, compare this to how Nina Turner was treated in Ohio in her race because she voted for Jill Stein as opposed to Hillary Clinton, or at the very least voted third party. This will not even be a blip on the radar, I think, of the Republican voter.
No,
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Clearly, Trump didn't care.
Right.
He called me Hitler.
He doesn't care either because Tucker Carlson was right next to him, who also, as we know, because of the Dominion lawsuit, was saying disparaging things about Trump and not believing his lies about the election the entire time, but was still peddling it on his airways.
He'll be speaking at the RNC. I think is it tonight or tomorrow night?
That's what people don't understand about the Republican base, and honestly, Trump's appeal more broadly. You know, we talk about in the debate how many times Donald Trump lied. The reality is that his core support knows he may be lying, but they don't care because they say all politicians lie, but he lies for us. And Republicans are primed to feel that way about all of their politicians at this point. That's part of the decay that he has brought upon the country.
Well, one of the aspects of the fasci authoritarianism that we see on the right now that is represented not only in Trump and the blind allegiance from the followers, but also in folks like J.D. Vance who are carrying this sort of Peter Thiel, Straussian authoritarianism, is that they want to see more than anything else. It doesn't matter that Vance was saying that Donald Trump was Hitler in 2016, or that he was noxious, or that he was horrible. What they want to see more than anything else is them take the knee. And it's almost like you can't even take the knee if you hadn't been an apostate or before. And so this is clip number 3. Here is a perfect example. This is better for them than had Vance been a fan of Donald Trump from the beginning. Because what this shows, both for Trump and as an example to all the authoritarians that love Trump, is that there is redemption. And that is if you give yourself over to dear leader. Here is Vance doing so.
Pat, you literally said, you texted a friend, that Trump is a cynical a-hole like Nixon who wouldn't be that bad and might even prove useful, and that he's America's Hitler. And you compared him to a cultural heroine in the Atlantic Monthly. And I'll tell you Trump's response, but you said that then. What do you say to people that say, well, wait a minute? Sure. What did he mean?
Well, Sean, I don't hide from that. I was certainly skeptical of Donald Trump in 2016, but President Trump was a great president, and he changed my mind. I think he changed the minds of a lot of Americans because, again, he delivered that peace and prosperity. If you go back to what I thought in 2016, another thing that was going on, Sean, is I bought into the media's lies and distortions. I bought into this idea that somehow he was going to be so different, a terrible threat to democracy. It was a joke. Joe Biden is the one who's trying to throw his political opposition in jail. Joe Biden is the one who's trying to undermine American law and order. President Trump did a really good job. And I actually think it's a good thing when you see somebody, you were wrong about him, you ought to admit the mistake and admit that you were wrong.
There you go. I mean, that is what they want.
Oh,
they
yeah.
want that forced confession. They want that conversion.
Why I left the left.
They want that. That is gold because it gives it gives the opportunity for people who thought that Trump was bad. It gives them license to come and see the light. Bow down and you will be forgiven. I mean, honestly, like you watch like The Handmaid's Tale, where they beat the hell out of like the women who have stepped out of line, and when they finally give in, that's when they become the best.
They're icons for the movement. That's when they're held up because this is what can be for you. And again, like the whole evangelical construction of how Trump is viewed by his base, or it's almost religious in their fealty. In part, they're maybe not responding to the assassination attempt in the same way because, of course he survived. I mean, he is here to be our representative and die for our sins. And J.D. Vance is a convert who gets to kiss the feet of Donald Trump and see the light and be a part of our efforts to reclaim America. And the scary thing right now is that they're winning, even though J.D. Vance does not have popular policy positions. We said this earlier. He voted against protecting IVF in the Senate. He supported a total abortion ban in his run for Senate. He's voted that way in the Senate. And if this is the issue that the Democrats want to put to the forefront, and they have someone who can competently articulate it, that we'll get to that in a bit. But that should be a liability for them because Vance is a bit of an empty suit. I mean, I know that that's what appeals to Republican voters, but for independents or other people, they won't see the money that's pouring into Trump's campaign. I get what he gets out of it. But in terms of like his actual policies, banning porn, nobody wants that in this country.
But this is all of that. I mean, you know, just even look, I don't know that there's been a vice president that has had really a difference in terms of like electorally in ages, made a big difference. I mean, you balances out the ticket and maybe, you know, and certainly maybe Biden was the last vice president to, I think, provide this notion of like, well, and Pence, you know, delivered, I think, some of the evangelical votes shored up this notion that like, if Pence can believe in it and he's a huge God Squad guy, then we can too, and provided the establishment. Biden gave license to people who were nervous about Obama's youth and hue to vote for him. I think in this instance, what Vance is doing is explicitly one thing, and that is delivering the tech bro fasci money, period, end of story. We've seen it already. We've seen it already. Less than 24 hours after he's picked, and Elon Musk, we got July, August, September, October, November. Somebody else do the math. That's like $250 million.
Yeah.
Right there. $250 million from one person.
Although I will say that I would not be shocked if Elon Musk reneges on a promise. But he's going to bet on a winning horse.
Put it into a yeah, I mean,
and if so, say if the race changes for some reason, there's a radical difference. Perhaps he changes his mind, but that is still terrifying.
Mark Andreessen is putting in millions of dollars too. He's Andreessen Horowitz, a big venture capital firm. He had to apologize because he was on the Facebook board and said that colonialism was good for India.
Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.